You guys have maybe heard about the debt jubilee, the possibility of it to forgive all debts, reset things. There's a lot I want to say about this, quite a lot. I've been making this video for quite some time, so stick with me. I'm going to tell you why it's very unlikely that we'll see a debt jubilee, but also why we then may actually see one. Stick with me for a couple of minutes. We'll go really quickly here. I'm going to tell you guys all about the debt jubilee that you've heard about for many, many years now. Nothing in this video should be considered as personalized trading advice for you. For many of you, this may be your first time here. My name is Peter Leeds. Along with my entire team, we publish the world-famous Stock Pick newsletter. And we've been in business for over 25 years now. So what is debt? It's a connection between two parties, the one that loaned the money and the one that received the money. There's a liability there. The debts have to be repaid. Every debt has a counterparty. Every debt on the earth worldwide since the dawn of time has a counterparty. That's what debt is. So don't think of a debt jubilee that you get off the hook and all of a sudden you have all this debt that's just gone. It doesn't work that way, because that means that amount of damage was done to somebody else. Any benefit one person gets or one party gets, there's another party getting the opposite of that. So the whole idea of the debt jubilee, that they would forgive a massive number of people's debts, there's an equal amount of damage being done to the counterparty. Debts are owed from people to the government, between people, from the government to people, from government agencies to other government agencies, from one corporation to another corporation, from one person to a corporation, etc., etc., etc. It goes all over the place. And the majority of all U.S. debt is owed to American citizens. But let me ask you a question about this debt jubilee. It's all theoretical right now, so we're just talking here. Does a debt jubilee apply to all types of debt? Or do you have to delineate between one type and another type? And if so, who's do the decisions about which types of debt get forgiven and which do not? And you do a blanket debt forgiveness including Puerto Rico, Alaska, and Hawaii. Another question is, if all amounts go to zero, what if you've got $2,000 in debt and your neighbor has $4.5 million in debt? Do you equally both get all debt forgiven? Or is there a sliding scale here? If you only had $2,000 in debt, you're looking at your neighbor who just got millions forgiven, and you're saying, why didn't I spend more money? Why didn't I buy a fancy car like he did and get a hot tub like he did? There's so many ways that this is simply kicking a hornet's nest. It's a great topic for conversation, great mental exercise, but it's wholly and completely, nearly impossible to pull off. And notice I said nearly. And if they do pull it off, it's actually a bad thing for the economy and even for the people whose debts get forgiven. And not to mention the legal chaos that we would be witnessing for decades and decades. There's a lot of money owed from one corporation to another corporation. Both corporations are not going to let this go without a fight if it's going to be negative for them. And just before I explain to you how this does not make the economy any stronger, I'm going to show you a quick clip I pulled off the internet from about 4 years ago. And I purposely pulled an old clip because I want to show you this.
You see the baby boomers of Europe have saddled these countries with debt. And these young people are looking at this debt load and saying, over time, each year that goes by, I don't, at some point, there's going to be a movement strong enough to walk away from that debt.
Really, a debt jubilee would be a form of default. It's the government saying, okay, these people will not get paid the money they're owed, so that these people don't have the debt that they owed. If a debt jubilee was enacted, there'd be hosts of creditors, corporations that are owed massive amounts of money that are going to have to write down those amounts, take them as losses. Not to mention the moral hazard. You rack up all these debts and then you just get them forgiven. That's not going to encourage you to be more fiscally responsible. You'll be thinking, oh, I should have been like my neighbor and wasted a bunch of money and took on a whole bunch of debt, because then they just forgive it in the end of the day. This is just another example of the kinds of shenanigans they get up to, the kind of fake, pliable capitalism that they present to us.
It's a debt reset. And I think that's what we're heading to in the next, I think, anywhere between 2 to 5 years, to be some type of debt jubilee or debt reset. I actually agree with that too.
You'll be told that this is a capitalistic system, and it used to be, but it is not one now. The one example I always give is the too big to fail corporations. This corporation could go bankrupt. That corporation, it's too big to fail, we'll give them money. And it's not the government's money. It's either money that you paid in taxes, or it's money that they created out of nothingness. Fiat currency, not backed by anything, they could create 10 times more money today. And you've heard a lot about the student loan forgiveness. And just look at the legal battles and oscillations and changes all the time just from that one small topic. All that legal fighting and wrangling. Imagine if there's a full debt jubilee which involved every corporation, every person, every governmental organization. The legal fighting would be so noisy that it would blot out everything else. But the student loan forgiveness, I don't even know where it's at now, if they forgave some of it or if they're still fighting about if they're going to forgive money. But however you look at it, and it's great if you have debt that they forgive, but however you look at it, that is a miniature debt jubilee. Unless they still haven't pushed through the student loan forgiveness. I haven't looked into it. I should have done that. I apologize. Or for example, when we had the Silicon Valley Bank debacle and they're going to give money to certain banks, make everybody whole, but not other banks. And all of a sudden, all this money is rushing out of regional banks and going to the big few massive banks. That's an example of the follow-on effects of the bailouts that the Federal Reserve enacted. And I talk about the government and I talk about the Federal Reserve. To me, they're all one big pile of one thing. They're the ones who are, quote unquote, leading us. They're the ones making the decisions. And they're decisions that are really unintelligent from my view and not helpful to you. But they don't know that, so I'm not too mad at them for that. Forgive them, Father, they do not know what they do.
There will be obviously some repercussions. What that is probably the currency collapses.
And the tax code itself is another example of the way that they've twisted capitalism into this lumbering golem, this beast that is not anything like it used to be or not anything like it was intended to be. That's why the tax code is thousands of pages long. It's ridiculous. Little tweaks here and there. A lot of accountants don't even understand half of it. However, the one thing that we do know about all of this, the powers that be, the government, the Federal Reserve, they will all make a bunch of stupid choices and poor decisions that are not in your best interest. Not always. Sometimes they will make good decisions for you, but a lot of the times they're going to do things that were previously considered unimaginable, that are clearly not good for you, are clearly not good for the economy. They've done that in the past over and over again. Why won't they do it now? Maybe they will. Upcoming videos include the big inflationary bounce, the global de-dollarization, and we're even going to dissect a zombie. You know the zombie companies I've been talking about for so long with you guys? We're going to capture one, we're going to chop it up, and I'm going to show you the exact line item that makes that corporation the living dead. This is a problem here, where they dropped rates to near zero for so long. What that did, that distance, that duration, that entire time, it was just driving the debts of individuals, of corporations, of the government. And the economy is breaking down. That's what this channel is about. I'm trying to help you guys know what to do, how to react to this crumbling economy.
There have been unanticipated and large shocks to the economy that have affected our economy badly that I, at the time, didn't fully understand.
But what happens when you have way too much debt and interest rates increase? The only way the US government can get out of this debt bomb that they've set up is to inflate away the money, make the money basically worthless, so it makes the debt easier to pay off. And the way it's going to play out is with a lot of these pension crises. You're seeing what happened in the United Kingdom. Australia's got some problems. America will be one of the next shoes to drop. There's not enough money in the pensions for what people are expecting to receive. So be sure to subscribe, because then you get first access to these great videos that we're putting together for you guys.